Hi, this is Cassandra. Thank you for tuning in to part 5 of being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. This video is an update from my Chicago trip that I took 2 weeks ago on getting new MRI scans and seeing doctors, and how all that went. So this is the news that I got. So on the first day, I saw my normal neurologist. She was the one who diagnosed me with MS in August of last year. And she did the typical, neuro exam where she has, you do the grip, they test your strength and your eyes and, your heel to toe walk, the typical neuro exam. And she actually told me that I did better than the first time I saw her back in August. So that was really good to hear. She said that I looked great and that still thinks that I'm doing really good. Doesn't understand why I don't have more symptoms considering how many lesions I have. So again, it's always really great to hear that. So that was day one. Day one went really well. And then later that afternoon, I got 3 MRI scans. One was of my brain. The second one was of my cervical, and the third one was of the thoracic, the bottom of your back. They call it the trunk, I guess, is what I keep hearing doctors say. The results. So day 2, I saw the MS specialist, and he went over the results with me. And it was kind of bittersweet, to be honest with you, because I thought, I don't know what I was expecting, but okay, so 6 months ago in September, I got 2 MRI scans of my spine. I had 0 lesions on my cervical at the time, and only 2, possibly 3 lesions on my thoracic. Due to imaging, they weren't sure if there was a third one or not. And so, after getting the results, I found out that in 6 months, I guess I have had a couple flare-ups. I have 2 new lesions on my cervical, and I have 2 new ones on my thoracic, so that's a total of 8 lesions, give or take a lesion or 2, I guess, if it matters. The MS specialist that I met was very, very blunt, and, he didn't beat around the bush or sugarcoat anything, which is, I guess, when you have a chronic illness, you need a doctor like that so that it becomes more of a reality for you. When you feel good and you're not really having too many symptoms, sometimes you can forget that you have MS, and so it's easy to kind of get comfortable where, in areas where you're weak. So it was kind of like a reawakening, reminding me like, oh yeah, guess what? You have a disease and it's kicking your butt still. So, the good news is, though, how it's conflicting because I have progressed in 6 months. I clearly have 4 new lesions on my back, areas where I didn't have them before. But the weird news is I had no new lesions on my brain. And in fact, my brain scans actually are improving compared to the first one that I got. So that was really cool to hear. And, the MS specialist also agrees with my neurologist that, considering where my lesions are, I'm doing phenomenally well. He said it concerns him because I have a lot of lesions on the brain and it's tolerating it very well. But on the stem of your brain, I have several lesions. And then now that I have 8 on my back, the stem and your spine are kind of how they communicate. And so if I were to get a lesion in the wrong spot, he thinks, it could change everything for me. In his words, he said, drop the floor, which, that's not ever fun to hear. The floor will fall out. Yeah, that's how you say it. I don't think anyone likes hearing that. So I did get kind of emotional in the doctor appointment, with being with the doctor. I had my dad there with me and my boyfriend there, and I try so hard to stay strong when you hear these things, but it's about you, and I don't think it'd be any different if it were about your significant other or your family member. It's always hard to hear news like this. But, focusing on the positive things, which are my brain is slightly improving, which is great. I'm still doing great. The lesions on my back totally suck. totally suck. But, so what's my plan of action? Well, the doctor recommended that I get a new medication. He thinks that Copaxon's not strong enough, and he recommended a couple different things. One was Tysabri, and the other one was Gilenya. And Tysabri is not a good idea because I'm JC positive, as 90% of the world is. And for those of you who don't know what a JC, 70 to 90% of the population is positive for JC virus. If you're not sure what that is, Google it. It's nothing that you have to be terrified of if you are somebody who is not on immunosuppressant drugs. So look it up. If you're interested, Google it. It's something that you'll never have to worry about. The people who do have to worry about being JC positive are cancer patients, HIV patients, anybody who's on an immunosuppressant drug, really. And I won't get into all the risks of why. So if you're interested, definitely look into it. It's very interesting information. And now that I'm aware of it, I definitely plan to become a little bit more of a germaphobe, I guess. The second option was a pill called Gilenya. And, basically, there's a risk either way, whether I switch medications or if I don't. So what I decided that I felt most comfortable doing for right now is staying on Copaxon for another 6 months. And this is what I want to do. So I want to eat more dark leafy greens, emphasize more fruits and vegetables into my diet, exercise more. But the number one thing that I want to change that I didn't mention too much in my last videos is the number one area where I'm the weakest. And it's not about eating sugar, although that definitely contributes to not being a good thing, is my stress level. And I say this to anybody who has a chronic illness or anybody who doesn't have one. Stress wears your body down. It just wears and tears on it. And if you stress and you keep stressing, some stress is good stress, You can read about that. There is good stress, but when you're doing it weekly, like I am, anything that you're doing positive for your body, like eating healthy and exercising, it's kind of pointless if you're stressing and you're being so emotional all the time. And that's the area that I struggle with the most. And anyone who knows me on a more personal level knows that I'm a very sensitive, emotional person. I care a lot, which isn't a bad thing, but I tend to worry about things that, are unrealistic. I stress about things I don't have control over. And it's frustrating because I talk so much about having faith and trust in the Lord, but then I have this area where I'm so weak in anxiety. And, Jesus tells us not to worry about tomorrow. And yet I do all the time. And so that is the biggest plan of action that I have, is to really, really try to focus on stress management and how to handle my emotions. I think if I can learn how to do that with eating so healthy, I strongly believe that when I go back in 6 months for a new MRI scan, I'm excited what the doctors could possibly see. I did tell them both that I'm, what I'm doing for MS, as far as like I'm doing Copaxon, but what else am I doing to treat myself? And, doctors always say the same thing. Well, that's good. We're always going to tell somebody to eat healthy. There's not, we'll never be against that, but there's no proof that that's going to really help you. And I just want to let you guys know that they say that to me, but then they also say things like, you're doing so well, and we don't know why. And so I think that that's proof right there, but they can't say that because personally there's no money in nutrition. So, I just want to go without saying that definitely if you can, find out what works for you, do the research, and kick butt at eating better. It's not easy at first, but it does get easier, and it is definitely affordable if you can learn how to shop correctly. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on, what the scan said and what the doctor said, and although it's kind of conflicting, news. We're going to focus on the positive, which is my brain is looking better. I'm still doing good, and we're just going to fight even harder now. So stay tuned for my next video. I'm sure it will be fun and interesting. So please subscribe, comment if you have any questions. Keep the faith. Just kick butt. That's pretty much it. Kick MS in the face. That sums it up, really. Stay tuned for the next video, and God bless you.